A reading from the book of the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 47, Sayings against the Philistines. The word of the Lord that came to Jeremiah about the Philistines before Pharaoh attacked Gaza. Thus says the Lord, "Look, the waters are rising from the north to become an overwhelming flood, overwhelming the land and all that fills it, the town and all its inhabitants. People cry for help, a wailing from all dwellers in the land, at the thunder of his chargers' hoofs, the clatter of his chariots, the rumbling of his wheels. Fathers do not turn back for their children, so limp are their hands, because the day has come for all the Philistines to be destroyed, for Tyre and Sidon to be stripped of the last of their allies. The Lord is destroying the Philistines, the remnant from the Isle of Caphtor. Boldness has befallen Gaza. Ashkelon has been reduced to silence. You who remain in the valley, how long will you gash yourselves? O sword of the Lord, how long before you rest? Back into your scabbard. Stop. Keep still. Yet how can it rest when the Lord has given it an order? Ashkelon and the seacoast, the targets assigned to it. Sayings against Moab. The word of the Lord. A reading from the book of the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 48, Sayings against Moab. On Moab, thus says the Lord God of Israel, woe to Nebo, for it is destroyed. Kiriathaim has been shamed and taken. The fortress is shamed and destroyed. The pride of Moab is no more. At Heshbon they plotted her downfall. Come, let us put an end to her as a nation. And you too, inhabitants of Madmen, shall be silenced. The sword will pursue you. A cry of distress from Horonaim. Devastation, dire calamity. Moab has been shattered, cry her little ones in distress. Up the slope of Luhith, weeping they go. On the road down to Horonaim is heard the shriek of disaster. Away! Flee for your lives, like the wild donkey into the desert. Since you relied on your deeds and your wealth, you will be captured too. Chemosh will go into exile, his priests and princes together. The plunderer shall reach every town, not one will escape. The valley will be ravaged, the plain will be plundered, as the Lord has said. Give Moab wings that she may fly away, for her towns will be laid in ruins where no one will ever live again. A curse on one who slacks at the Lord's work. A curse on one who starves his sword of blood. From his youth, Moab lived at ease. He settled on his lees, never having been decanted, never having gone into exile. And so he kept his own flavor. His aroma was unchanged. And so the days are coming, declares the Lord, when I shall send him decanters to decant him. They will empty his pitchers and break his wine jars to bits. Then Moab will be ashamed of Chemosh, as the house of Israel was ashamed of Bethel, in which they put their trust. How can you say we are heroes, sturdy fighting men? The destroyer of Moab and his cities has come up. The flower of his youth goes down to the slaughter, declares the king, whose name is the Lord Sabaoth. Moab's ruin is coming soon. His downfall comes with all speed. Grieve for him, all you his neighbors, all you who know his name. Say, how shattered it is, that mighty staff, that splendid scepter. Come down from your glory. Sit on the parched ground, enthroned daughter of Dibon. For the despoiler of Moab has advanced on you. He has destroyed your strongholds. Stand by the roadside. Keep watch, inhabitant of Aroer. Question fugitive and escapee. Ask, what has happened? Moab is shamed, for it is shattered. Wail and shriek. Spread the news along the Arnon. Moab is laid waste. Judgment has come upon the plain, on Holon, Jaza, Mephath, Dibon, Nebo, Beth Diblathaim, Kiriathaim, Beth Gamul, Beth Meon, Kerioth, Bozrah, and all the towns of Moab, far and near. The horn of Moab has been cut off, his arm is broken, declares the Lord. Make him drunk. He has set himself above the Lord. Let Moab wallow in his vomit and become a laughingstock in his turn. Was Israel not a laughingstock to you? Was he caught red-handed with the thieves for you to shake your head whenever you mention him? Leave the towns. Make the rocks your home, inhabitants of Moab. Learn from the dove that nests in the sides of the walls of the gorge. We have heard about Moab's pride. So very proud. What arrogance! What pride! What conceit! What a haughty heart! I know all about his presumption, declares the Lord. His boasting is empty, his actions are empty. So I lament for Moab. For all Moab I raise my cry and mourn for the people of Kir Heres. More than for Jazer, I weep for you, O vine of Sibmah. Your shoots stretched beyond the sea. They reached as far as Jazer. On your harvest and vintage, the despoiler has descended. Gladness and joy have vanished from the orchards of Moab. I have dried up the wine in the presses. The treader of grapes treads no more. The joyful shouting has ceased. The cries of Heshbon and Elealeh can be heard as far as Jahaz. The shrieks resound from Zoar to Horonaim and Eglath Shelishia. For even the waters of Nimrim will become a wasteland. And in Moab I shall make an end, declares the Lord, of sacrifice on the high places, of incense to its gods. Therefore my heart moans like a flute for Moab, moans like a flute for the people of Kir Heres, since the wealth he had acquired is lost. For every head is shaved, every beard cut off. Gashes are on every hand, sackcloth round every waist. On all the housetops of Moab and in all its squares there is nothing but lament. For I have broken Moab like an unwanted pot. declares the Lord. How shattered it is! Wail, Moab so shamefully in retreat. Moab has become a laughing stock, a thing of horror to all its neighbors. For thus says the Lord, look, he will swoop down like an eagle, spread his wings over Moab. The towns have been captured, the strongholds seized. That day the heart of Moab's warriors will be like that of a woman in labor. Moab will be destroyed, no longer a people for setting itself up against the Lord. Terror, the pit and the snare for you, O inhabitant of Moab, declares the Lord. Escape from terror, you'll fall into the pit. Climb out of the pit, you'll be caught in the snare. For I shall bring all this on Moab when the year comes for punishing them, declares the Lord. In the shelter of Heshbon, the fugitives have paused, exhausted. But fire will burst from Heshbon, a flame from the house of Sihon, consuming the brows of Moab, the head of a turbulent brood. Woe to you, Moab! The people of Chemosh are lost, for your sons have been taken into exile and your daughters into captivity. But I shall bring back Moab's captives in the final days, declares the Lord. Thus far the judgment on Moab. The word of the Lord.